Hey, welcome to the Summit Host Hangout podcast, where you'll learn how to host a high converting virtual summit that leads to your biggest signature offer launch yet. I'm your host, Krista from Summit in a Box, and we've got a guest who I'm so excited to introduce you to today for probably more than two reasons, but two main reasons. First, we have Summit hosts struggle with like copycats and copycat events so often where they're coming to me just sick over, oh, this summit's just like mine, oh, they have my literal name, like all of these issues, like it's a problem in the summit hosting space, or oh, my speaker just took my whole summit and now they're running their own, stuff like that. The other reason I'm excited for this guest specifically, well, number one, he's an amazing human. Number two, he and his team are responsible for all but one of our trademarks here at Summit in a Box. Their client experience and their trademark knowledge is the best out there. So, oh my goodness, if you need any trademarks in the future, this is where you go. But to give you some background information on our guest, Joey Vitale is an award-winning trademark attorney and the founder of Indie Law, a top-rated and amazing trademark law firm that has helped thousands of business owners protect their brands. I can tell you from lots of experience that his company, like I said, they're the best of the best to work with. But he's been featured on major stages and podcasts, and his newest best-selling book is Legally Legit, the step-by-step guide to protecting your business and owning your brand. He's on a mission to give peace of mind to 100,000 entrepreneurs, and today he's here to help us understand how to protect our virtual summits from copycats and build authority around our brand. So lots of good stuff that is so important and relevant and way too often skipped or overlooked until it's too late. So without further ado, let's dive in and talk with Joey from Indie Law. Welcome, Joey.
Oh my gosh, Krista, thank you so much. That was such a kind intro. And I hope everyone that is tuning in is not leaning back too much because they are hearing, oh, this is a legal episode. I know it sounds kind of scary, but this is very, very important. And it's my mission to get on as many podcasts as I can like this, to break all of this down in a plain English way so that you do take steps to keep your brand protected. And I have a hunch that by the end of this episode, you're actually going to think that trademark law is interesting, which sounds backwards, but stick with us, because the reason why I'm a trademark attorney and not another type of attorney is because the world of trademarks is so interesting and important for business owners.
I love that too. And I can speak to that as well. Like the way you break everything down really does make it interesting. The way you answer questions. And like as a client, there's a time recently where I asked a question about something that I was just clueless about. And they're like, oh, sure, here, schedule a call with Joey. And he was like, 30 seconds, here's your answer. It's like, oh my gosh, that's so easy, but they still just take so much time and care. And you're going to get to experience a little of that on this episode. So I want to dive in, I guess, with the first question. And I think probably what's the biggest concern for our summit hosts, and a lot of them have experienced someone copying their summit or some other thing in their brand. But if we think summit specifically, it's like the name or the format or the overall concept or the registration page copy or marketing material. Can you walk us through what's actually protectable when it comes to virtual summits?
Yes.
Let's do it.
So it's so interesting. But when it comes to what is actually protectable, you're really looking at two categories in the legal world. You're looking at potentially copyright and trademarks. And the short answer to this is trademarks protect the very like short form name of your business, name of your summit, name of your catchphrase or whatever, or your logo. Copyrights protect that longer form content, like a blog post or your about page or the online summit recordings. The weird thing about copyrights is that they are really hard and expensive to enforce. So most small business owners don't even spend the time and energy and money trying to enforce the copyrights. It's like, look, if there's at the end of the day, if there's another person out there that completely just copies your about page or your sales page for the summit, instead of trying to legally go after them, you should just outmarket them. That is the truth on all of this. But that is not the case when it comes to trademarks. If someone else has a very unique name, like Summit in a Box, like that has gained customer awareness. When people hear that phrase, they don't just think of that generally. They think of Krista and her brand, right? And so by securing that trademark, even if people use different types of sales page copy, or the recording or the summit presentations are very different, it's like, hey, no, we don't want people to check out some Facebook ad that talks about Summit in a Box and click through it thinking that they're taking next steps and buying from Krista's brand when they're not.
Yeah.
And so the way that I like to explain it as a business owner, whether it's legal or not, we're always mitigating risks, right? Either because there's a legal issue or because like you don't have enough sales or leads this month, right? It's all about what are the risks in business and what are the steps that you're taking to mitigate those risks so that you can succeed in business. Most legal risks are like getting a flat tire. Like it never is ideal, right? It's a pain in the butt when you, whether it's have a copycat or a teammate that breaches a contract or a client doesn't pay. All of those are these isolated incidents that suck legally. But for the most part, you can handle that legal issue while the business is still running. If you were to get blindsided by a cease and desist letter today saying that you were infringing on someone else's summit and you had to change the name of your entire brand, it's like having all 4 tires go flat at once. You can't market the business anymore until you fix that. And so that is why my law firm really prioritizes trademarks. And we do that more than anything else legally.
I can also speak from experience in that happened to me with my summit. We had run my first summit ever 2 or 3 times. And we got a cease and desist afterwards. And I was, one, terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to do this. I'm so sorry. But also like sick because I had built so much name recognition. It was such an awesome event. And I felt like at the time I was starting from scratch. And that's not what it turned into. But I can tell you it was a ridiculous amount of work to change all the domains and the marketing material and graphics and literally everything. Have to tell my audience, oh, sorry, we're changing our name because I'm an idiot. Like that was not a fun process, and it would have been avoided if I would have done my research and done my job protecting the brand in the first place. So yeah, don't be that person like I was.
You're not alone.
So, yeah, and that's what I see with most people as well, is like they don't have any kind of formal protection. All they have is like the ability to say, hey, you copied me, like, so I think we kind of understand the gist of what you're saying we should be doing, but just so it's very clear before we go throughout the rest of the episode, what protection would you say someone should actually have for their summit?
You should be protecting the summit's name. If you have like a slogan that goes along with it, I would trademark that as well. And if you've paid a lot of money for a logo, or the logo has staying power, I would get the logo trademarked as well. We can circle back to that later, but there's something recently happened this year that makes getting your logo trademarked more important than ever.
Whoa, taking notes. Okay. Let's circle back. And I want to talk about timing with this because I think something like investing, I think there's 2 sides of this. People who are first-time summit hosts and maybe not sure how their event is going to go, they're like, I don't want to spend money on a trademark when I don't know if it's going to be awesome or not. And then there's also the side of, can I trademark something that doesn't exist? So like, when should someone hosting their first summit think about trademarking?
You need to think about trademarking on day 1. Otherwise, you're at risk of accidentally infringing on other brands on day 1. Now, you can always reach out to a law firm like Indie Law, but I wrote the book Legally Legit that gives you the step-by-step on how to do this on your own if you'd like.
Thanks, Joey, for writing the book.
Of course. So you can get that for $10 and it walks you through all the steps.
Okay, $10. Okay, whatever. Worth it. Okay, and then what would you say? I feel like I know. What would you say to people who have already hosted a few summits but never protected their brand?
You are behind, and you now run the risk of someone else seeing your success and sneaking in and filing a trademark before you get around to it. Unfortunately, we are seeing this more and more where the company that actually was the first to use the summit name, that coined the phrase, but never got around to trademarking it, legally, technically speaking, they are the rightful owner of the trademark, but because they never got their paperwork in time, they don't have the money and energy to get it back. So they decide that it makes more sense to just rebrand.
Oof. Yeah, that's painful. I kind of have a story around this as well, although it didn't go badly for me. But I teach a summit hosting program. Inside that program, since day one, I have called the monetization strategy the stacked summit monetization strategy. And someone went through my program and then started teaching summits and then had the nerve to email me and say, hey, I see you're using this phrase, but I use that phrase. So I feel like you're copying me. Can you stop? And my response to her was, I don't see that you have the trademark for this. And also, you took my program. But what I did after that is I reached out to Indie Law and we trademarked the heck out of that because otherwise she would have been able to beat me to it and I would have had to change all of our stuff.
Yes. So I will say here, there is something that, and I might be rushing to this point, but I think it's really important. And if you guys get this, it will save you a lot of headaches down the road. Everyone and their mom is starting a business right now. And one thing that is being saturated is like these easy to think of names for things. And one thing that is very clear in the legal world is that if a phrase is commonly used and so generic, then no one really owns the trademark for it. Krista, you might remember me saying this somewhere, but the way that I like to describe what a trademark even is a trademark is something that has the Hakuna Matata effect. So when we hear that phrase, we think of the Lion King, we could guess that Disney owns the trademark for Hakuna Matata, and they do. Mm. That thought process is a trademark at work. And so in order for a trademark to be a trademark, you have to show that there is an audience that when they see or hear that phrase or logo or whatever, they think of a particular business source. I say that because there have been a few very common phrases that have famously been applied for as trademarks that have gotten rejected. And perhaps one of the most famous examples is LeBron James tried and failed to trademark Taco Tuesday. And the trademark office said, sorry, LeBron, we can't give this to you, but we also can't give it to anybody because that phrase is so generic that when people hear it, no one thinks of a particular source. Mm-hmm. I say that because one thing that I'm seeing in like basically every online industry right now, but definitely summits, is people are going for that like super generic name for their summit or something that's super like easy to think of. Like I can't tell you how many online courses have like Elevate in their name or Next Level in their name. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you are designing an uphill battle for yourself trademark wise when you create an entire brand around those easy to think of phrases. Mm-hmm. So it really is worth thinking outside the box of not only not being generic, but ideally you create your business name, your summit, all this stuff in a way where you're avoiding the risk that someone would accidentally be infringing on you. Ideally, you're coming up with a name that other people aren't easily thinking of.
Mm-hmm. I love this. Easier said than done.
Easier said than done, but we work with the great naming strategist. Her name's Alexandra Watkins. She wrote an amazing book called Hello, My Name is Awesome. She's fantastic at her job. She coined the Wendy's Baconator, and she is really great at what we lawyers call suggestive trademarks. These are trademarks that are not generic, but once you understand what the business does, then the business name like makes sense. And people are like, oh, like that's cool. So for example, one of my favorite suggestive names is Jaguar for a car company. When you hear Jaguar, you don't automatically think car, but once you realize it's a car company, you automatically think like high-end, luxury, fast.
Yes.
Similarly, Alexandra helped create a cool ice cream brand called Spoon Me. And so ideally, you guys can come up with names like that, where it's not just, we are the XYZ Niche Business Summit. Mm. Because again, I see that a lot and I get how that can be helpful with some marketing. You can still say that's what your business does, but I would not lead with that because you're probably not going to get the trademark on it. And even if you do get the trademark, it's going to be really hard to enforce it against others.
Mm-hmm. That is really good to know. So like literally from day one, like you said, you should be thinking about trademarking because it should inform your name, like process and everything else. And I mean, you shouldn't, I guess, decide on a name anyway before doing the search and making sure you're not messing with someone else's trademark. So all kinds of fun stuff to think about. But I know you guys and all your resources make it easy. So that helps. We just don't know how to think about it.
Speaking of the search, I'll also touch on this point because this is something that a lot of people don't know, is that when it comes to trademarks, so much is against common sense. And one of those elements that is against common sense is what I call domain name thinking, where we as business owners have gotten so used to going to sites like GoDaddy. And if we want a domain name, we search for it. It's not available. We just add an S at the end or a the at the beginning or a dash somewhere in the middle. That might be fine to get the domain name or the social media handle, but that is not distinct enough when it comes to trademarks. The reality is that over 500,000 applications get filed every year. Most of them get denied. And the biggest reason for a denial is that it's too similar to another trademark that already exists. And one of my favorite examples, just to show how broadly they interpret this, is Blue Apron, the food subscription company, owns the trademark for Blue Apron. Another company that's also in the food place applied for Green Apron and it got denied.
Oh.
And the trademark office said, basically, obviously blue and green are different colors, but if you put yourself in the shoes of a loyal Blue Apron customer and you get an ad for something around Green Apron, you might reasonably think that that's their like all veggies box or their sustainably packaged promotion or something.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I love this example is because the company that tried and failed to trademark Green Apron was Starbucks.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. So even big brands have to play by these same rules.
Wow. So interesting. And like, yeah, like stuff we wouldn't even know to think about without experts who know what they're doing.
I mean, honestly, the comprehensive search that we do is the most valuable part of the entire process of what our team does, because we make sure at the very beginning that ideally we're moving forward with a trademark that isn't likely to get denied.
Yeah. I mean, all of ours have been solid so far. But you guys have also said, like, I've been like, okay, let's trademark this. And your team comes back to me after doing a search. You're like, actually, that's probably not a great idea. Let's try this again. And I think we have 4 or 5 that we have successfully done. I would have failed at multiple, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the reality is that when we conduct these searches, it's usually not a like, hey, you can proceed or you can't proceed. It's more of if we see red flags, we will recommend tweaks to the trademark, maybe adding a slogan to the business name or applying for a logo or narrowing what it is that you say that you do. And because of that, this is pretty cool. India Law has a 99.7% success rate.
Whoa. Okay. Flex.
So I say that because we're not in the business of just like telling business owners like, sorry, you can't get it. We really do what we can to put ourselves in your shoes and say, how can we move forward despite these risks?
Mm-hmm. For sure. For sure. That's how it was presented to me also. Okay. I want to put all this trademark stuff in context with someone, like talking them through, here's what an issue would look like without a trademark. Here's what it would look like with one. So let's say this happens a lot. Someone hosts a summit. It goes really well. And then 6 months later, they find out someone is like using their pretty much identical like name and concept. What are their options if they do not have a trademark?
So you could send a cease and desist letter and just not talk about the fact that you don't have it registered.
Is that like within integrity to do?
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, the reality is, and this again is a weird thing about trademarks, is trademark rights are actually created upon use, not upon filing or upon the registration. So technically speaking, you own the trademark to your summit name if you used it first, regardless of whether or not you filed. But only a trademark registration is like easy proof of your first use. And so it becomes really tough to enforce your rights and expensive to enforce your rights if you don't have that registration in place. So part of this is like, if you don't have a registration, it could cost like 10 times as much money to enforce your rights and like pay an attorney to do this stuff. Whereas if you have it registered, that circle R symbol showing that it's registered is like a badge of honor.
Mm.
And one of the great things about having your trademark registered is that platforms like Facebook, Amazon, and might get into even like Google, they really respect seeing the registration. So what we have seen is if you see a copycat using your trademarked summit, you can report them on Facebook or Instagram or whatever and tell that platform, they're infringing on my trademark. Here's my registration number.
Mm-hmm.
Platforms take that very seriously and might even act on your behalf to remove that person's content or even their account.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
We've actually, once Indie Law got our Indie Law trademark registered, we were able to go to Instagram and get the Instagram handle for Indie Law because someone else had been using it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, and you're not going to be able to do that if you're just like, hey, that's my name. Okay. All right. So for our audience who like might just kind of be feeling overwhelmed with like all the legal stuff that they should be doing, I guess what is like what would be your like encouragement to them, or what you would want them to walk away knowing?
Number one, don't stay small to stay safe. I see this all the time, especially in the online space, where people start to think about these legal risks and they're like, oh, let me just kind of stick my head in the sand because little old me, I probably won't deal with these issues. Number one, every business owner deals with at least one legal issue in their lifetime of the business. So it's only a matter of time before this happens. But I don't want anyone listening to this episode to stay small to avoid legal issues. I want you to think big, and I want you to be setting as big of goals as you can for yourself and your business and your summits. And with that inevitable success comes inevitable legal problems. So focus on solving the biggest ones first, which are trademarks.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Thank you so much. We're going to send people to their next steps, but I have to circle back and ask you about what you were hinting at earlier with getting logos trademarked.
Okay. So, Krista, I mean, you tell me, isn't it true that when it comes to summits, there's a lot of like emails that you send?
Yes.
To the speakers, to the audience, and so much of the success of your summit relies on like people reading it and getting your emails.
Absolutely.
So, as you probably know, companies like Facebook and Twitter or X or whatever are now using those like blue verification badges.
Yeah.
Gmail earlier this year came out with its own blue verification badge. And if you get that badge, it helps you avoid spam folders and get sent to the primary inbox. So there's a complicated application you have to do to apply to get the blue verified check. But you cannot get the blue verified check unless you have your trademark registered.
Oh.
So now more than ever, trademarking your logo provides a marketing benefit. And I do think that this was really smart on Google's part. And I could see more platforms leaning into this, where if these platforms are wanting to avoid spam and they're wanting you to like prove that you are who you say you are, showing proof of a trademark is a really great filter to avoid spam. And it is just a really cool thing right now. I've just been talking with various like web developers and SEO experts that are now sending more work our way because their clients are now really wanting to get their logos trademarked so they can get the blue badge.
Mm-hmm. I want the blue badge. So interesting. I had never heard of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No one's talking about it. It just got announced earlier this year.
Okay.
But for anybody who is interested, my team is putting together like a Google Doc with step-by-step instructions on what you have to do to get the check.
Mm-hmm.
I'll send that to you, Krista, and you can share it with the audience, however.
Awesome. I will have a link to that in the show notes. Well, okay. Thank you so much for coming on here and sharing. And everyone, I would just love to encourage you to explore this, whether you're starting off with Legally Legit or reaching out to their team about working together. Like, honestly, trademarking it for the protection it gives you, your brand, and the peace of mind, and also just like kind of the CEO up level, so worth the investment that like when I got the like pricing for yours, I was like, really? I thought it was going to be way more. So like, it's reasonable, you guys. Like, this is not crazy. So please reach out to Joey and his team. They are so amazing. Can you let us know where they should go to connect with you or grab your book or inquire about services? Tell us all the things and I'll link to all the things.
Yeah, well, you can definitely hop over to Amazon and just search Legally Legit and you'll find my book there. Other than that, my number one recommendation would be to book a call with us. All of our consults are free. So you really have nothing to lose. Book a free call with us. We are happy to offer like a really quick, what we call knockout search to see if there's any direct matches in the trademark office for the trademark that you want to apply for. And we'll help clarify next steps. Usually business owners that we talk to have a number of trademarks that they're potentially interested in. And so we can help you prioritize which one we would want to focus on first.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Okay, I will link to all of this in the show notes for you guys. Again, Joey, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Again, for all these links and resources, head to the link in the episode description wherever you're listening. That will bring you over to our show notes page with all the goodness for you. And for now, go out and take action to plan, strategize, and launch your high-converting virtual summit.